thanks to all the witnesses. It's been a really great hearing. And you know, I was hoping that we could get through this without rehashing our debates from early last year. And unfortunately, that was not to be. I share the chairman's determination to make our work in this committee as bipartisan as possible. And I think there is a bipartisan common ground on this that reasonable people ought to agree on. And that is that obviously the Chinese Communist Party hid facts about the coronavirus. Obviously, the World Health Organization did not work hard enough to push back against China in those early weeks. But at the same time, the United States government does not rely on either China or the World Health Organization to know what's going on in the world. We knew what was going on in China. The former president was warned repeatedly in January and February, and yet even after the World Health Organization declared a global health emergency, he repeatedly praised the Chinese leadership. As late as February 29th, saying China seems to be making tremendous progress. Their numbers are way down. We've been working very, very closely. They're doing great. President Xi gets it again and again and again. So let's agree there needs to be investigation of the origins of the virus. Chinese government should be held accountable, but that in no way absolves us of responsibility for what's happened inside the United States. And as for the WHO, let me just ask Mr. Boyke this simple question. If the United States leaves the WHO, does that make it harder or easier for China to exercise malign influence there?
It clearly makes it easier.
Thank you. I think that's pretty plain. Now let's get back to what we need to be talking about and have covered, I think, quite well. And I'll stay with you, Mr. Boyke. The United States, we like to do things the right way. We like to do things the equitable way. And the obvious good government approach to how we help the world deal with this crisis is to work through international organizations to deliver resources and let them do their work. But there is, and you've brought this out, a tension between that and the legitimate objectives of vaccine diplomacy. And I think you said at one point that the democracies are delivering cash and the dictatorships are delivering doses, which I think is perhaps the line of the hearing. And I wanted you to elaborate a little bit on that and advise us on what is the appropriate balance here between working through those institutions and the United States getting the credit we deserve as a global leader in public health at a time when China and Russia are trying to steal that credit in the way that you've described.
Great. Thank you for the question. So it's understandable that democracies that are answerable to voters are going to be reluctant to share doses at a time where each dose sent abroad is one dose that can't be used at home on a voter or with their loved one. The issue is that autocracies or autocratizing nations don't have the same restrictions, and they are filling that gap. The way that we can work well with multilateral institutions, but also advance a role for democracies in this international crisis that can make us safer and present a compelling alternative for nations is to invest in global vaccine manufacturing, because that is not what the WHO is doing. And ultimately, it's very little of what COVAX is doing. There is a role for us to increase supply. If we can't share our early doses because of legitimate concerns about what they might mean to share doses at home, we have to increase the pie. If we can't share it, we have to make it larger so that we can address these concerns. And that really has to be our focus.
Okay. Is it your expectation, and Dr. Jha, chime in if you like as well, given that the United States and European Union countries have reserved significantly more vaccine potentially than we need? I know there are variables there that we can't fully predict. Is it your expectation that we will actually have a significant number of doses that we can share? And if so, what is the most what is the best, wisest, most effective way of distributing excess doses that we may have?
Great. So with regard to doses, we will definitely have a surplus. The issue of variants may delay when we declare that we have a surplus, because if the virus does spread more easily, we may need to vaccinate higher populations to higher share of population to achieve the same public health benefit. So that is going to delay matters. What we can do is announce in advance that we will be donating and what the terms will be donating and set up that infrastructure. The fact that we're not providing any information with regard to that really puts us at a disadvantage to nations that are quite willing to fill that gap while we wait for more information. How we should distribute the doses should ultimately go where they can do the most good. So COVAX does provide a vehicle for doing that, but it is a WHO mechanism. It's member state oriented. They want to provide doses everywhere in the world. It may be that the countries that need are suffering or having the largest crisis are not where COVAX would immediately send it to. So it's probably pursuing both channels, some to COVAX and some to the nations in greatest need, which at least for the time being is Latin America, which may make some sense from a strategic perspective from the US as well.